Hello there. I'm Ron. This is Alton. This is Lynette. This is Brian. And we're at the Rehabbing Ron's Way boot camp. And we're going to answer your questions this week as a group. And Nikki's going to pan around and see all these people here eating while we're answering these questions. They all got served food tonight.
There we go. Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Ron, for dinner.
So Nikki's going to read the questions and briefly read them and shorten them, and then we're going to answer them, right?
Yeah.
Yes. So question number 1 is from...
What if we don't know the answers? Well, I'm going to make something up. This is Alton Jones from L.A., ex-cop. Got tired of getting shot at. Now he's reading having houses.
Big money.
Yeah.
All right. So question number 1 is from Walter.
Hi, Walter.
With deals in general and specifically subject to deals, do you recommend spending the money on updating the abstract when closing on the deal or leaving it for later down the line?
What the heck does that mean?
The title. He's talking about the title.
Yeah.
You get a title search.
If you do the title search, that's it. You don't need to update the abstract.
I don't know what updating the abstract means. Where are you going to get an abstract to update?
I think what
He's
you're
saying
talking
if
about,
there's
I think this is if there's a title issue,
If there's
if
a
you're taking
title
over
issue.
a debt subject to, you definitely want to make sure before you take over that debt subject to, because you're going to get title.
Title search.
Right, you do a title
Title
search to
search.
make sure that.
Stop.
Just
Title
do the
search.
title search.
Okay. Question number 2 is also from Walter. When doing a subject to deal and putting the property in a land trust, what name or title goes on the agreement as the buyer?
We get this question every week.
Well, it's the first time you asked.
Okay.
It depends. That's a democratic answer. It depends.
Yeah, that's...
If you're buying from a bank, you better put the name on the contract that you intend to close in. I use ABC Inc. as trustee. It's not really ABC Inc. I use my LLC's name as trustee as the buyer. If you buy it from a FSBO, it makes no difference what you put on the contract. You can change it anytime you want before you close.
Okay, we have another question about LLCs from Aaron Anderson.
Hi, Aaron.
And he asks, are there situations which we would want a C corporation? What specific advantages are there to using that type of entity? Are there any disadvantages?
Yes, and yes. And we teach this at our Quick Start School. C Corporation, I have several. One of them is the company called Eagle Home Buyers, which is the entity I use to buy houses. The C Corporation has a different tax year end than an LLC or an S. And that sometimes helps me with my tax planning because I can make the corporate year end on the C any month I want, which I cannot do on an S or an LLC. And here's the big one for me. A C is taxed as its own. It has nothing to do with me personally. And its profit or loss does not affect my personal income tax return in any way. Downside of the C is you better watch the taxes on it because it has its own tax bracket. And if you start making more than about $75,000 a year net operating income, you're going to be in the highest tax bracket and gain nothing tax-wise by having a C. So it has its advantages. Disadvantages is the only way you take money out of it is a salary or some kind of compensation, not dividends. Because dividends they are not a write-off for the C, and you have to claim them as income, thus the term double taxation.
I think he needs to come to the business management school to learn more about that too, right, Juan?
Yeah, that's true, but you know, he asked a question, I gave him an answer.
That's coming up next month in May.
I'm sure he's not going to understand what I just said, but you got the answer.
I just want to say one thing, because a lot of thinker brains will delay the start of their getting business because they worry about the entity structuring too much. Just get one LLC
Agreed.
and proceed forward immediately.
By the way, there are lessons on the Go Club concerning all this stuff.
All right, the next question is about yellow letters from Sean in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina.
Sean, I want you to go down and see if my restaurant's operating. It's my old restaurant. It's right there in Barefoot Landing across the street from the, what's that golfer's name? Anyway, you know, my old restaurant in Myrtle Beach. It's right there at Barefoot Landing. And
Okay, let's get back.
Restaurant across the parking lot, let's see if anybody's in that thing.
Okay, so the question is,
I'm interested since I built out that beautiful restaurant.
It was a beautiful restaurant.
okay, so let's get back to the Ask Ron question is, are you using multiple mailings to the same list with the yellow letters?
I don't.
On yellow letter, we only do one hit. So no, not sequential. We don't do sequential on yellow
I do.
letters.
I sometimes mail to that same list 3 to 4 times. So I mail to that list 3 to 4 times, depending on how often. I usually have a 5-week turnaround time before I remail to that same list. But I usually mail to the same list maybe twice.
Why do you do that?
I do because sometimes people sort their mail over the trash can and they don't get your mail initially. So then sometimes they also hold on to the letters that you may get them for a month, 2 months, 3 months, or 6
Well,
months.
what is the reason you mail to them multiple times? Because you can accomplish all that on the first mail.
Well, because sometimes they don't get the mail, and then sometimes they'll just get the second mail and realize, oh,
You
they
don't deliver mail in Southern California?
They do deliver mail, so, but I mail it to out-of-state owners as well. So because I'm mailing to the same folks, they'll get my letters.
Are you getting good enough results to justify the multiple mailings to the same list?
Yes,
Can you prove it?
yes.
Or are you just making it up?
No, I'm not making it up. They mailed the big Hollywood $2 million house, he got it on the second mailing.
No kidding.
Yeah, so believe me.
Case closed, yes, you mail multiple times.
Okay,
800 grand on that
On
house.
one house.
so, but this student, Sean, also wants to know, do you change any of the wording on the yellow letter?
Never.
No.
No, 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 no.
The minute you change the word, you ruin the yellow letter.
Okay, so the next question is from Carlos.
Hi, Carlos.
He's in San Diego, California.
That's where Nikki's from.
Yeah, also known as Paradise. Okay, so this question is a question on a sandwich lease option. What if the market is down and the value of the house has dropped below the agreed upon selling price you have with the tenant buyer? They want to exercise their option to buy. Would a bank extend a loan for the selling price if the house doesn't appraise at the
No.
price?
Bank's not going to spend a loan, they're going to use whatever appraisal happens. So your choices are, you can lower the price, you can not sell, or maybe you can get the buyer to come up with some kind of more compensation in one way or another for the difference. Generally, you're going to wind up lowering the price.
Or you can carry back a second.
You can carry back a second if the lender allows it, because they must know about it. Or you can take trade. See what the buyer's got, they might want to trade you. The truth is, it's likely the buyer is not going to close if they think they're paying more than the house is worth anyway, unless you lower the price.
And you may go, we've been through that obviously in 2008, and it just takes time. You just tell people they need to be patient.
Okay, the next question is back to yellow letters again. From Danny Ortiz. I recently sent out over 300 yellow letters targeting absentee owners with 80% or more equity. This is my first yellow letter campaign, and I have not done any deals yet. I am getting a little lost and wondering if I made the right move with this target clientele. Any suggestions with how I should be looking to structure these deals with little to no money out of my pocket? A wraparound mortgage seems like it may be more difficult to obtain from the owner if it is on the majority of the purchase price.
Danny, I can tell by the way you asked the question, probably the smartest thing for you to do is nothing until you get some training. Because you're just going to make a big mess. Just everything you ask, you would not ask if you got a little bit of training first. I mean, almost every word of your question is just out of place, man. First of all, you don't get wraparound mortgages from sellers. Your attorney creates those things. Your seller, in fact, they don't even sign them. You're the one that signs them. In that case, your land trust as trustee. Your trustee signs them as a trustee. The rest of your question, there's just no way to answer it.
Well, here's
Because
an answer.
you're mailing out yellow letters and you're getting leads, you obviously don't know what to do with the leads.
Well, not only that, if he's only mailed out 300 letters, you're not mailing out enough.
Yeah, that's not
That's
really
not really the root of his
intense.
problem. It won't help him to mail out more letters if you don't know what to do with them when he gets the lead. And that is the real root of the problem. You need to get the training, man. Get the training.
The targeted list for most people, the easiest low-hanging fruit deal is subject to, because you don't have to talk about the term or the payment, and there's no down payment because you're paying what it's worth. That's why those are so easy. If you're going to target a list early on, I'd say target low equity. But if you've got somebody who has an 80% equity position, you just have to be able to read the right script to them. It's not any more complicated.
All goes
than-
back to the training. Without it,
Yes.
it's not gonna know what to do even if they say yes.
That's right.
Okay, so the final question for this week's Ask Ron is from Stephen.
Stephen,
He asks Ron, one of the objections that seller has is what if the tenant tears up the house?
we don't have that problem.
We don't do tenants, we do lease purchase buyers.
Right, they're more serious.
And they have skin in the game. Is a totally different animal than adult daycare, which is a tenant. A lease purchase buyer has skin in the game. They take care of maintenance and repairs. They're wanting to own the home. It's a totally different animal.
The more money you get out of them, the less you have to worry about that. And honestly, if you want them to tear up a house, rent to them, lease out to them. They just don't. Could they? Yes. But if they do, they've given you thousands of dollars. And if it's too big, if they do too much damage, it's literally an insurance claim and probably a prosecution on your part.
That's
But
true.
if the seller's really concerned about that, just tell them, don't worry about it, we cover everything.
I didn't hear him say the seller was concerned about it.
Well, he said, what do you say if the seller says?
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
If the seller asked that, that means you talk too much.
Yeah.
And you're doing a seminar for them and creating that question. Your question, your conversation should be about buying houses, not what you're going to do with them after you buy them. And then you won't get asked that question.
All right, that concludes this week's Ask Ron.
All right.
Were we going to ask them a question?
See you next week.